Welcome to the Unleashed podcast, where we believe that life is better when it is lived on purpose. My name is Molly Brunk, and I'm joined with lead pastor of Be Hope Church, Brad Thompson. Brad, how in the world are you?
Oh, man, let's go.
Oh, man.
Let's go.
He's ready. We're ready to dive into it.
I am ready. I got some questions for you.
Oh, for me? Instead of a fumble moment? Or before the fumble moment?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm ready.
I have to ask you, because I know you know football.
A lot.
Do you love football?
Very well. No. Do I hate it? No. Do I know anything about it?
What's your favorite professional football team?
I feel like everyone's going to hate me for this, but I do like the Chiefs.
Kansas City Chiefs.
I do like the Chiefs.
Is it because you're...
My in-laws were big Chiefs fans because they lived in Kansas for a long time, so I can claim that. Definitely not because Travis Kelce's on the team, but yeah, I like the Kansas City Chiefs.
You know, this when I was in the military, I did the color guard when I was in Kansas City, and I got to do the Veterans Day. So the guy who brings out the American flag, I got to do that, which was so cool because I get to stand at the 50-yard line with the B-2 bombers going over.
That's
and
cool.
85,000 fans screaming. We got to show up early and hang out with the players. It was cool.
Wow. That's way cooler than what I thought you were going to say, because I thought when you said color guard, I thought you were like twirling the flag, and I like could only have that image in my head, which is like really cool, but I just could not imagine you doing that, and so that was not computing in my head. So I was like, it took me a long time to catch up to like.
Is that what they call the people who flip like the flags and the batons? Color guard?
Yeah, they're in the color guard. So that's why I was like, you were in that.
What's the military's version? Just less twirling and.
Did you hold the gun on your side?
No, I had the American flag.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
It was such an honor. It was
you
such
got
a
to
joy.
be the person holding the American flag?
Yeah, I did that first season. It was fun. So much fun.
I feel like that's like the QB1 of the color guard.
Not really, but.
Okay. Fair enough.
Anyway, so favorite football team is Kansas City.
Yeah.
So here's my next question. What is your favorite dance, touchdown dance in the NFL? Do you even know any of them?
I don't know any of them. The only touchdown, it's not even a dance. It's when Tim Tebow would do that thing where he was like, get down on one knee. Because I saw a lot of that on Twitter during the time because everyone would like write funny things about it.
Yeah.
So
I can feel John Elway's soul sinking right now as you speak.
I don't know who that is, but I do know there's a lot of gritting on the football field.
Gritting.
And stuff. So there's a lot of that. And some of them are really good and some of them are really cringy.
I think it's a title, not necessarily a verb. I'm gritting. Is that what they call it? Cool. You know more than I do.
I don't know. I just use it as that. What's your favorite touchdown dance?
The Icky Shuffle.
Icky?
Man, back in the day, Bengals fan, we had our producer Matt is doing it right now. The Icky Shuffle.
Good. It's just this?
Listen, I have secretly tried the gritty at home. And
I believe that.
It's pretty ugly.
That one's like the easiest one to do. It's really hard to like floss. Right, I can't. Well, it's really hard. Like, I'm like, the flossing thing, I still can't figure out how they do that. I think it's witchcraft. I'm like, I don't know how their arms and hips move.
Look at us, like, we're 5 minutes in and we haven't even given the title of the podcast. This is so much fun for me.
Get us on track.
Well, there's a reason why I'm asking this question. I'm going to get to it in a second. But today I want to talk about let your work do the work. Let your work do the work. What a great title. I love it. Here's where this comes from. Here's my fumble moment. It's actually one of my kids. I love my kids to death. And I'm sure they're going to appreciate me sharing this. But they were in a soccer game. And there was this moment where things got really heated. I've got video to prove it. So the game is tied. My son is driving the ball down the sidelines. And this player from the other team literally comes out of nowhere and doesn't even go for the ball, just lowers his shoulder and takes him out. And he goes flying.
Ooh. Yikes.
I mean, flying. I've got video to prove it. If you don't believe me, I'll put it on the tube. And in that moment, I don't blame him. I've never seen him do this, but he got up and he threw up his hands like toward the ref. I've never seen him do this. He's my mild-mannered, like, I just do my thing, play the game. Threw up his hands at the ref and was like livid. And And the best part of it was they gave him a free kick and he scored the winning goal
Oh, nice.
from outside the box. It's cool. I can put that on the tubes too if you'd like to see. But there was this moment where like I understood his frustration. I also understood his excitement for scoring the goal. And I probably would have done the same thing. But there was this moment where it was like, and again, I'm not faulting him because I would have done the same thing. There was this moment though, it's like, you got to be confident in what you're doing. Like we don't put our hands up. We don't look at the ref funny. That's not who we are. It's not how we do things. And my dad used to say this thing, and this is what I told my boys. I said, you got to pretend like you've been there. Pretend like you've been there before. My dad would say that all the time. You score a touchdown, you do something great, pretend like you've been there. And I just told him, I was like, hey, when we're on the field, we have to pretend like we've been there. And what I meant by that was you score a goal. Like, I hate it in soccer. You ever watch this? The professionals will
Throw
run
themselves.
and then they'll dive on their knees and then they'll take off their shirt. And I'm like,
I was thinking of like when they get fouled and they like flop on the ground and they're
yeah.
like,
And now they wear these heart sensors and they look like they're wearing like brassieres. I'm like, what are we doing here?
do they not get excessive
no,
celebration?
not in soccer.
Oh, okay.
No, it's the same in football. Like you score a touchdown and I watched the whole receiver thing on Netflix and like, was it Jefferson's mom is like, what's going to be your dance? What's your dance? And so he's got the gritty in like 500 different ways. And I love the gritty. It is fun to watch this man do the dance. But there's part of me like Icky Shuffle, the gritty. It's like, could you just go line up? My favorite goal in like my favorite goals in soccer is when somebody scores a goal, they run into the net, they grab the ball and they run back out to the middle of the field and they put it down. They're like, let's go. Because they're acting like they've been there before. Yeah. And the point that I'm trying to make is let your work do the work. You scored a goal. You have just showed everybody that you're not only competent, but you are superior in the moment. You don't need to cap it off with a dance.
That's fair. Do you have like real life experience with this?
Do you?
Do I?
Yeah.
Where I've like seen people boast about their work or where I've boasted about my work?
You ever just get around people who like you don't even have to prompt them and they're going to tell you all the amazing things they're doing?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what else to say. Yeah, they're not often people that you want to schedule again anytime soon.
I think the question is, how do you feel in that moment?
Checked out.
Okay.
Like I think I just disengage.
Checked out, disengaged. Let me ask you this. If you don't check out, what happens to you?
I start thinking of whether or not I need to be saying all of those things. I'm like, do I need to start going through our attendance and our numbers and how we're doing? And so I think I get in my head a little bit.
So I think the tendency is when we get around people who are like-minded or in the same professions or the same careers, like the tendency, especially like when you have gatherings or I don't know what they do like in the insurance world, but they have these big, massive conferences. And anytime we go to those things, the tendency is to share what you're doing. And I think unprompted at times. And there's that moment where if you don't check out, which I check out, if you don't check out, you start playing the comparison game. And you start asking the questions, well, why aren't we doing that? And why aren't they asking us? And how come we don't have that opportunity? And if I'm just honest, like, I'm not going to lie, but sometimes I get around pastors and people will share what they're doing without even asking. My favorite thing to do, because I used to do this back in the day, I would go to these conferences, and this was when I lived in Kansas, Topeka, Kansas, which is the home of Westboro Baptist Church. Which, remember these people? They'd hold the signs and they'd say all the mean things to people. So I'd go to these conferences, and they say, hey, how's church going for you? And I'm like, oh, man, I'm at Westboro Baptist Church right now. And they'd be like, That's amazing, dude. Like, and I did that to see if they were even listening. Yeah, I'm at Westboro Baptist Church. I'm a youth pastor now. And
they're not even listening.
And they're like, that's awesome. Is it going well? And I'm like, you don't even care.
Yeah.
Like, you just wanted to tell me what you're doing. And it was the funniest moment. Most people didn't catch on to it. And they would have known who Westboro Baptist is.
Yeah.
Because we're out there.
Yeah, that's fair.
But sometimes we get around other people who are like-minded or other pastors, and it's like, it becomes this competition. And I think there was a season of my life where it's like, I want to play the game. Why aren't we doing this? How come we're not there? It became this comparison thing of, yeah, why not us?
Yeah.
I preached a whole message on this a few weeks ago. A good friend of mine said, why not you? Why aren't we a part of this? And I think what I experienced in the moment was, I'm at a place now where, looking back at my kids' game, looking back at those experiences, like, I'm at a point where I'm just like, just let our work do the work. We don't need to talk about what we're doing. We don't need to, like, unprompted, I don't need to share numbers with you. I don't need to share what's happening. I don't need to share what the next adventure is, the next vision that we have is. Like, I do that with our Be Hopers because you're part of this. But unprompted, I don't feel like I need to do that.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like, we're doing this thing. Let's go pick up the ball and run back to the 50-yard line.
Yeah. And I also think that the conversations shift too when it goes from, here's what all that we are accomplishing, to, hey, here's how we see God has transformed this person's life in our church. And I think that's what we do every Monday, is that we celebrate how God's moving and working. And it's not, hey, look, we had an awesome service that happened and worship, they didn't mess up the words. Like, it's not that. It shifts from our accomplishments to just God moving. And I think sometimes we get lost in it. And I think sometimes with pastors, maybe in those settings, they feel like they have to prove to you that God's moving and working in their churches through their accomplishments. And I think sometimes we just get off course a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that's a natural tendency, is to get in a place where we feel like we have to prove something. Like, I'm doing something right, or this is going well. And I think it's just an unhealthy place to be. Now, let me just say this. I've been around a lot of pastors who I will ask them how they're doing, not just for numbers or whatever, but I want to know, like, you're doing well. What are the strategy? Like, what are you doing that is making this work? And those are the fun people to be around.
Yeah.
They're not really sharing, we've had this many people attending or that going on. It's like, when they're talking about, this is what we see working at our church, like, that's what I get excited about.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's good for us too to always recheck our priorities. And so, what is our priority when it comes to church world and all of that kind of stuff? But when we're talking about this, like, where does this affect our purpose? Like, how does coming into a room and feeling like we need to prove ourselves, how does that take us away from living on purpose?
Yeah, I think if you're not careful, it leads to the comparison game. And instead of living out what God has placed you in, you start dreaming and wishing for something else. I wish I was there. I wish I was doing what they're doing. Why don't we have these opportunities? How come this isn't happening? Like, and I think the purpose piece is, God's put you here. You're doing a good work. Don't come down from this wall, as said Nehemiah, and be confident in what you're doing, even if it doesn't look like somebody else's. And so that's why I say, let your work do the work. Like, let the fruit, let the results, let the transformation of lives, let all that speak for itself. You don't have to tell people what you're doing to feel confident. Just let the work you're doing show people the confidence that you have in what's happening.
Yeah. And I think that living on purpose requires humility, because I think that you have to be humble because you know it's not you that's doing this. Like, you know that it's God who goes before you and God who's working through you and God who is giving you the right tools and things to say in the midst of everything that you're doing. And when we start attributing our accomplishments to ourselves and not to Him, then we stray from our purpose because we're not being humble anymore. And so I think it's all tied together.
Yeah, and to your point, like, let your work do the work. Like, you know that at the end of the day, what we get to witness is not really from us. I was sharing with a group of guys, or maybe it was a group of people that today, like, you know for a fact this has to be solely from the work of God because you couldn't do this.
Yeah, that's good. Anything else you want to finish up?
No, I would just encourage you, be confident in what you're doing.
Yeah.
And let your work and the work that you give your life to, just let it speak for itself.
Yeah, that's good. Well, we're going to wrap up this episode with Hope or Nopes. And Hope or Nopes are our segment where we get to see if Brad thinks that they're hope or nope for the situation, whether it's a cultural one or something random. So this episode is going to come out on November 6th. So my first hope or nope is Kamala Harris or Donald Trump. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I just want to see your heart stop. Let's go on to a real one.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
We'll have found out by that point.
I know.
When this comes out. So
I know.
Here we go.
Put your prediction in. Okay. The next one is, did you know on November 15th, there is something called a full beaver moon that happens?
No.
And it is the month to set one's beaver traps before the swamp froze over and beavers retired to their dams to ensure that you could have fur for the winter. Is there hope or no for the beaver moon?
Well, we live in Beaver Creek, so
yeah.
There's hope.
Yeah, there is hope.
I watched somebody run over one the other day.
In Beaver Creek?
We were driving down the road and Janelle goes, she gasps. And I'm like, what? And then I see this fuzzy thing rolling under somebody's car. I kid you not. I slam on the brakes thinking this thing's going to be in front of me. It gets up after being run over, looks around, and then takes off.
Wow. We have the strongest beavers in
Hope for the
Beaver
beavers.
Creek. That's amazing. The next one is the new Wicked movie. Are you going to see that? It's a musical. Elphaba, Glinda, they're going to sing to each other.
Hope for you, not for me. I'm not watching it.
Fair enough. Okay, and then the last one is I have just a few rapid fire Thanksgiving food questions. You ready? Turkey versus ham.
Ham.
Sweet potatoes versus mashed potatoes.
Sweet potato.
Stuffing versus deviled eggs.
Deviled eggs.
Pecan pie versus pumpkin pie.
Both.
He said yes to
there isn't
all.
one of them. I'm eating both.
Fair enough. Man, we're so grateful that you decided to listen or watch this episode today. Make sure that you subscribe and share with everyone in your sphere of influence, and we will see you back here during the next episode.